I think one thing that's become popular the last few years is just like broker previews, sneak peeks, broker opens, price evaluations. And I just was really intentional for a year or two about going to as many as I could possibly go to, meeting as many agents as I could meet, especially in my target areas. In doing that, you develop relationships with them, and then you get invited and you get sneak peeks, you get the early look, you get access to inventory that other people don't know about.
Welcome to the Justin Landis Show, your real estate podcast about having conversations, building relationships, and creating freedom. And today, I'm here with my good friend and one of our top Bolst agents, Matt Simonds. Matt, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Matt, on this podcast, we talk about a wide range. We've been talking about AI. We're talking about social media. We're talking about marketing. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. Yeah. That's been one of your calling cards. So tell us a little bit before we get into that, we always do a little origin story. How'd you get into real estate and get to where you are today?
Yeah, no, I started about 8 years ago, and it's always hard to get that first client. So
first client is not an easy one to get. How'd you do that?
Well, it was one of my college best friends, so he had to hire me. Had no choice.
Friendship is over.
But I worked really hard for him because he was my only client. But no, it was good. And then you always have ways to try and build and scale. And I just really took the approach that I was going to be very relational in my business. I was in a transactional sales job before, and just didn't have time for the relationships. Neither side did in the sales role. So this is totally different. I always tell people it's impossible to shop for a house with someone without getting into what matters to them, their values, their dreams, their goals for their family, et cetera.
So how did you do that? We talk a lot about relational businesses, but people do things a little bit different. What did you do when you're like, I want to build it relationally? What did you practically do to do that at the beginning? Yeah,
I just went to lunch with everybody. And I had kind of missed out on catching up with a lot of people in my life. And I wanted to, as much as I wanted it to lead to a client at some point, it was not about that. It was more about just like genuinely catching up on their life, what they're up to, and what's new with them. And I think people like that more than being sold to.
And then how long did it take to really get some traction and actually start to work?
It probably took a year and a half.
Yep.
Yeah, it probably took a year and a half. And had 5 sales my first year, but not that much, and then but it was building for the future, really.
Yeah. We have such similar paths at the beginning. Because I've shared this with you before. My first year, my goal was 1 face-to-face every day. And I'm like, if I meet 250 different people this year face-to-face, I am nice, bring up real estate, try to be helpful. Surely some of them are going to need to buy and sell houses. But honestly, that first year, not that many did. It was really the second year of doing that and following up and being helpful and getting connected to other people that it really did start to take off. And so, we had those similar starts, but we didn't know each other then. Yeah. You want to share how we met?
Yeah, we met through our kids' school. Mm-hmm. My oldest goes to school with your youngest.
That might say something about our age gap.
Yeah. I look older than I am. But yeah, no, we had a really sweet school, really sweet class, and they're good friends. So we got to know each other through that. And then both just made a lot of sense. And I love the business model and being B Corp and everything. So made the decision to come on over from a previous brokerage.
Yeah, tell a little bit about your business before we met and before you were a Bolst, and then we'll talk a little bit about what has happened since then. But tell everybody, like when we met and you were not at Bolst, what would you say about your business? How would you describe it at that point?
I would say, honestly, it's largely similar. I was with the luxury brokerage here in Atlanta, and my business model has not changed. It's I work with largely first-time home buyers and second-time home buyer move-up buyers. Yep. So sell and buy their second house usually. Largely, that's probably 90% of my business. So none of them necessarily really cared about the brokerage switch. They were hiring me for me. Some of them have actually appreciated, the fact that I'm donating a decent percent of my commission to our fund. Yep. That funds homelessness in Atlanta here. So that has actually helped a little bit, but I don't think necessarily anybody would have not hired me because I left the other shop.
Yeah, let's walk through that a little bit because I think that that's probably a thing that people are worried about. If you're at a name brand or a big, brokerage, you're like, hey, if I go to something local or smaller, will people still work with me? Will they know it? How much does it matter? You were, presumably like the best known luxury brand. How much do you think that has made a difference? And how much do you think it makes a difference in general?
I don't think it makes too much of a difference, to be honest, unless you're in a very luxury price point. I think then maybe it can. But in my business model, I think people care about, I think they care about a few things. I think they care about knowing me or knowing someone who does know me and
Yep.
or trust me, and then or has worked with me in the past, and they also just want to know that they're going to be serviced really, really well throughout the process, and that I know what I'm doing, and that I know my price points. I think those things are kind of the deciding factor for most people. Neighborhood comes into play sometimes too,
For sure.
but just being a subject matter expert of a certain area. I lost out on a listing appointment in Summerhill not too long ago, but I've only sold one house down there, and the other guy had, was able to say he'd sold 30. And then, so I was like, okay, I don't feel too terribly bad losing that one, so I think that all of that kind of combined fits the piece of the pie.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of options on both sides, the big and the small. What was it as we started to talk about Bolst that, led you to pick Bolst when there are other options available as well?
Yeah. I mean, I think financials had a big part to do with it.
Yep.
It was a big delta swing for me. And then I think that I really loved I just love the business model of being able to give back. And then I also love the ability to build a sense of community within the brokerage.
Which you've definitely done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to actually kind of break down each of those if you're open to it. On the financial side, I was looking, you're having a great year. You got a lot under contract. It looked like to me like $4.5 million or so under contract, which I think you're going to pay Bolst a total of $500 on, $100 a piece, because we have a capped model where once you pay in a certain amount each year, you keep the rest of it. If you were not at Bolst and at your previous brokerage, on that $4.5 million, what do you think you would have paid into the brokerage on that?
I mean, a lot more. Probably 15, maybe 20.
Yeah. And so you're going to do 5 times that this year. You take the 20 times 5. That's sending the kids to school and going on vacation. And I mean, lots of stuff, right?
Yeah. It's a big swing.
It is a big swing. But even with that swing of spending less, you have done amazing here. And from my observation, I do think the community you've built has been really helpful for your business and other people in the brokerage. Talk a little bit about the community that you've built over the last couple of years.
Yeah, we push each other. I think there's a sense of cheerleading, at least a little bit, maybe. Like I'm truly happy for my quote unquote competitors that are going after same buyers and sellers that I am. I think that's unique because real estate can be a lonely place. We deal with people's problems all day long.
Oh yeah,
and just to have somebody to call and vent to is huge. I think we have that here in different groups.
Yeah.
And our little group is tight knit, and I love it. We have a pretty very active text thread, that's probably daily. And then we have mastermind group that meets once a month, and just talking through different strategies and different things that someone may want to implement. Some that somebody's doing this over here. Oh, maybe I need to think about doing that. And different target markets, so we can be collaborative. So really unique in this industry, I believe.
Yeah, I've really loved, so to set it up for the listeners, there's a group Matt's with, a group of maybe 6 other folks, and they get together once a month. And usually I join them and we kind of talk about different topics and they share. And as I was looking at everybody's numbers last year, I mean, the growth that people have had is so awesome. And as I kind of reflected on it, it's like, well, what is it Of course, I wish it was like me giving some like secret sauce or something, but it's not. It's that community to me, like that text thread, the stuff y'all are helping each other with. I'm like, man, the value of this is really high. And so I think from like any real estate agent listening, like if you don't have a community, you need to be able to find, you either be somewhere that there is one or create your own or something, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Go build it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we even did a lake retreat to start off the year with setting goals. And I mean, Justin came and didn't have to, but, speaks to you, for that. But, did it overnight at the lake and just built more community and just, set strategies for how we're going to conquer this year and, continue to grow a growing business.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we all run small businesses, self-employed businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not growing, you're dying. So, it was really fun to kind of spend that time together and develop those strategies and then put some new things into place.
So good. Yeah, that was so awesome. You, on the relationship side, I've also been really impressed, not just internally here at Bolts, but you have great relationships across brokerages, across the city. And I think it's really helped you with your business. I think it really helps your clients. Talk a little bit about why you decided to do that and the actual technique of how you've done that.
Yeah. I think one thing that's become popular the last few years is just like broker previews, sneak peeks, broker opens, price evaluations. And I just was really intentional for a year or two about going to as many as I could possibly go to, meeting as many agents as I could meet, especially in my target areas.
Yep.
And in doing that, you develop relationships with them, and then you get invited and you get sneak peeks, you get the early look, you get access to inventory that other people don't know about. And if you do it organically, and then, if you have great transactions with people where you negotiate in a way that is not rude, and is not, and fair to both sides, but not rude and respect I like to negotiate from a place out of respect.
Yep.
Always. And respect for the other agent, respect for the seller, if I'm rejecting the buyer, or vice versa. But I think doing that has gotten me access to stuff that I would not have.
When you say stuff, that means
Houses.
that are not on the market.
Yeah.
Yep.
I drove here from a house that was pre-market that I'm under contract on that I would not have known about if I didn't have a great relationship with that agent.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody is listening to this and they're like, oh man, Matt's way ahead of me, I don't have any of these relationships, I'm not getting it. What are the first steps for somebody? Because you're not going to do this in 1 week.
Yeah.
What are the first steps for someone to be able to build those relationships? What advice would you give?
I mean, you don't just go to the broker open or the price eval, add value. Spend the time there, have the lengthy conversation. Mm-hmm. Don't just go and take pictures, put it on your Instagram story.
But you can do that.
You can do that too. You can do that too. It's not my business model, but you can do that too. But go and actually have the conversation with someone, learn about and learn about their life. It's the same thing with clients, like or your sphere to get a client. Like learn about their kids. You
were telling me recently that an event you had that another awesome agent in Atlanta, not at the same brokerage, that y'all were having a life conversation, and that that's what helps build these relationships.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and those are great. And I enjoy having those conversations too. So it's not authentic. And so I think that's a big piece of it too. So I mean, just be you and go meet people and get in their phone book.
Because as you go to the ones, just to break it down for everybody listening simply, a lot of caravans and broker opens are publicly, they're open, invited to everyone, right? And so you just see what they are and you start to go and you build the relationships. And then as you start to have those relationships and actually know each other, then some of the ones that are more select and invite only, you start to be on that invite list.
That's right.
And then you can return the favor on yours as well.
Well, and it helps on your listings too, because now I have these people that if I'm loyal going to all of theirs, then they show up to mine. And it's a major value add for your seller, especially if it's a tough property price.
Yeah.
So you get kind of a quorum on price from the industry without having gone to market yet. So
Yep. And what a value to the seller compared to I blast something out. I have 3 people who don't really know the market come because they wanted a free bottle of wine versus I've got 20 people that do actually know the market coming to get that feedback.
That's right. Yeah. And it can be very helpful when, especially in low inventory market that we've been in, it's changing a little bit, but low inventory market, it can be tough to comp.
Yep.
So sellers are often on the fence, and in a changing market too, they often might be a little bit high, and this can kind of show them where we might want to be if their goal is to move it quickly.
You joked about posting it on Instagram, and you are not a big Instagram poster. However, your houses do get on Instagram a lot, which I find this is a strategy we have not covered here yet. And I'm curious for you to tell everybody a little bit about how your houses get posted on Instagram, but you're not big at posting on Instagram.
No, I'm not. I just have never been a social media fan. I didn't even have an account before I started in this industry, but yeah, I simply leverage the people that like to do that. And if I have a listing that is, really well decorated, or I know it's going to be popular, it's in a great neighborhood, that kind of thing. I'll do a broker open and I'll just repost all of the pictures that people post, and then it kind of spreads that way, but it also gets to their network, which is almost arguably more important. So yeah, and last spring I sold a house that it got posted a ton of times, and then the would-be buyer, their end buyer, it wasn't even they weren't even shopping that area. They were shopping Buckhead. This was in Sandy Springs, but they were like, we got to go see it, and then they ended up being the one buying it.
Wow! And you told me that last week one of your sellers said something about they noticed how many people were posting it.
Yeah. I get that sometimes too. I mean, that because they use it more than I use it, and so they see it, or their friends will see it and be like, "Hey, is this your house?" So I've gotten that a few different instances.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of different marketing strategies on here and relationship strategies, and as you move forward, your plan is to continue the relational piece of the business, both internally here at Bolst, externally with the agent community, and with your sphere and the people that you know. And you feel confident, even with AI, with whatever, Instagram, all this sort of stuff, that's going to be a successful strategy moving forward.
I think so. I think it's the most likely to bring in a client. Just because it's so much more personal. There are certainly agents that succeed with, cold calling expireds and door knocking and other methods. But, I think for me, it's a high intrinsic value as well, that I enjoy. So I think that's a piece of it that I want to continue doing.
Yeah, I so agree on the intrinsic value you're bringing to the relationship. There is one place that you have done some stuff online, and it makes me think, last week I talked with Kristen from the Kristen Show, and she has a huge Instagram following. I mean, huge following, and she's very vulnerable, and she's herself, but she also said, hey, I know my audience is on Instagram. You've been doing some stuff on LinkedIn, and I think that's because you've thought that, hey, your audience might not be on Instagram, it might be on LinkedIn. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I reflecting back, I was looking through most of my clients, and I tend to get hired by a data-driven male, and most of them don't even have an Instagram profile, but a lot of them use LinkedIn, and there's not really many residential real estate agents that market on LinkedIn, and so I said, all right, well, let's take a swing at that and see if that might work, and bring in somebody who may not be in my sphere, that additional 10% of clients, but yeah, it was funny. I even got a call. I got a call from it was one of my best friends' his brother-in-law. He lives in Nashville, and he was shopping. He was like, I'm shopping for a house right now, and he was like, you're the only real estate agent that is marketing to me. And he was like, yeah, I can't work in this market, but he's like, why is no one else doing this? He's like, And then he was like, he runs a bank, and he was like, I might need to start doing this. So, I think there's something to do with that, to know who your audience is and to target them specifically, and then not try and go after someone who's probably not going to hire you anyway, that might choose somebody different, whether that, if it's a female decision maker, a lot of times, I don't get the job, but yeah, so I think there's a piece to that as well.
That it's interesting because it's such a different, the platforms and the content and all that are so different, but it is so similar to what Kristen was saying about being authentic. The authentic version of yourself, that's what's going to resonate with people. LinkedIn is my favorite social media platform. When I first started using it, someone suggested to me to do it, and they were like, Justin, LinkedIn is almost all business and almost all positive. Yeah. That's a perfect fit for you. And I was like, wait, that is me. I do love to be super positive, and I do love business. And so that is a better fit. And so, while I work to do content across platforms, it's easiest for me on LinkedIn because it is like the most natural fit. And so I think if anybody's listening, you're going to pick like one thing to go further, you probably do want to pick the one that your audience is on and is most natural to you. And to wrap up on Kristen, she is really only on Instagram, which is kind of surprising for the amount of media that she does, that she's just picked one, but she's like, I want to be all in on what I'm doing and do it the best that it can be done. And I think that's an opportunity that, people could take LinkedIn, they could take Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. But I think to wrap up with you've done it on the relationships. And we outlined the 3 ways: internally at your own brokerage, externally with the agent community, and then in your actual community. And, it's paying off in absolute spades. And I really appreciate you sharing with us today your journey of how you built that.
No, I appreciate you having me. And I would say my only final thing would be that, thing you have said a couple of different times is that, I think you just touched on it a little bit, but the way you said it in the past was that, you could do 30 additional things to try and grow your business, but pick 2 and go all in, and I think that is a great message for every agent out there.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard message in this industry because we see so many things and a lot of them can work. We could probably list out 30 things that actually could work for someone.
Yeah.
They're not going to work all for one person, right? And so that's why you do that 1 or 2. You mentioned a couple of things that I have not done and would not be good at, door knocking and expireds. But if you did do those, you'd be way better on the 2000th attempt than you would on the second attempt. You probably need to do them 2,000 times. And if you do them 2,000 times, you probably will be good at them.
100%.
If you have coffee with 2,000 people, the 2,000th coffee is going to be better as well than the second one. And so, I love how you've stuck to your lane, not gotten distracted by the shiny outside things. And I think it's really paid off for you. So, man, thanks for being here and sharing today.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening today. Make sure that you like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And I will see you again next week.